here to talk about the accreditation requirements.
Okay.
Thanks.
So all of this content is going to be available online. A lot of it's online already. So what I'm going to do quickly is look at the ecosystem. Okay. So that is hard, a bit hard to make out. The thing you have to remember with the DNS, the internet thing, is it's not just registrars and registries, but a lot of other players in the mix. So if you look, you've got registry service providers, you've got registrars. We'll talk a bit more about this, and we talked about it yesterday. In the ICANN space, the registries and the registrars have a contract with ICANN, but they're the only people who have a contract with ICANN. Everybody else is kind of outside of that. So you've got internet service providers. So our friends from the fastest internet in Egypt, are they here today? No. Okay. Damn. So ISPs, application providers, telecoms, all these other entities are slightly outside of it. They're still part of the ecosystem. You were to say something.
Following you.
You following me? Okay. That was a bad idea. So you've got, those of us in the core, like those of us who are in kind of deep into this. You've got lots of other companies. So imagine, if you will, say you're setting up a small business website, or you're getting email for a business, services, marketing, all of those things are going to sit somewhere outside. Then you've got outside of it again, if you're looking at the outer ring, this is again more of the the internet governance organizations, IETF, IGF, lots and lots of acronyms. One of the biggest segments for selling domain names are resellers. It's like here, in most countries, you have lots of resellers and a very small number of registrars. Like here in Egypt, are there any registrars? I can't credit registrars in Egypt? No. So they're all the domain names, all the .coms sold in Egypt are sold via resellers. This is not a bad thing. So, sorry, me plus Windows machines equals disaster. So, the other one we're looking at is responsibilities. So this is back to the entities that have an actual contract with ICANN, so a direct contract. So you've got for myself and Tom, the document we care about is the RAA, the Registrar Accreditation Agreement. So the Registrar Accreditation Agreement is a contract that ICANN gives to all its registrars. The current version is the 2013 version. Most registrars are on that. A lot are still on a slightly older version from 2009. And part of that contract it includes a bunch of responsibilities that registrars have to do, things that we have to do, but also gives some responsibilities if you are a registrant of a domain name. So one simple example would be, if you register a domain name, you have to provide correct contact information. If you don't provide correct contact information, the domain name can be taken away from you. What's caused a lot of headaches for registrars and the entire ecosystem, looking at the previous slide, is that with the new contract, we, the registrars, have to validate that the email address for the registrant is accurate. If you cannot validate the email address, you have to suspend the domain. So the domain name stops working. This is a little bit of a problem, obviously. So the registrar has that contract. If you register a domain name, you're entering into some kind of agreement with the registrar. So you have you're agreeing to terms and conditions. The terms and conditions have to take certain obligations from that. So this is kind of all intermingling And over here in the corner, we have ICANN. So in this context, this is ICANN. Okay? ICANN, Evil Empire. Sorry, that's fair sorry. Anyway, so ICANN signs contracts with the registrars. ICANN also coordinates with the registries. The registries many times have two parts. So you take, give me a registry, small one, UTLD, small one, .buzz, actually .buzz is a good one. Okay, so .buzz, it's a small registry run essentially by one person, who's a really, really nice guy, by the way. If you ever meet him, he's fantastic. So he's like one person. He's got some wonderful ideas. He signed a contract with ICANN, but he's one guy, okay? So he then went to a registry service provider, which I think in his case it's Newstar. So Newstar look after all of the technical operations for him. So there's a split. You have this one entity that looks after marketing the TLD, deciding on pricing, promoting it, all that kind of thing. Then you have another entity, a different company that he's outsourced all the technical operations to. So these people, they worry about DNS servers, EPP servers, data scroll, who is all that technical stuff. It's all outsourced there. So with all the bigger registries, this and this, it's like one. You don't see it. There's no real separation. With the smaller ones, you see a split. Like in the CCTLD space, a lot of you are one, but not all of you. So say, for example, in .com.au, Auda is the registry operator, ARI provide the back end. But then you look at something like Nominet, it's just one. Okay so far? So, come on, everybody has to be a little bit more energetic. I'm dying up here. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
How are you?
Yeah.
Good, look, it's like they're in unison, I love this. Okay, so, registrars again. Yes?
Actually, did wonder why are some registrars of 2009 contract and some earlier contract? Why couldn't they just insist on everybody migrate to the current contract? Or is it there's a lifetime span for the contract?
Okay, that's a good question. And it's one that causes frustration for certain people. The first RAA, registrar contract, was from 2001. Then the next one was 2009, and the current one is 2013. The 2001 and the 2009 contracts, when you signed them, the contract had a validity of 4 years? 5 years. It had a validity of 5 years. So until the contract expired, you had no obligation to change your contract because you'd entered into that. So, say with the 2009 contract, a lot of us switched to the 2009 contract early because I can't say, hey, if you move to this new contract, we'll give you a discount. We're like, save money, hold on. So, I think I'll take the saving the money thing. So it was a carrot. It was a good way to encourage us. With the 2013 contract, being blunt about it, I can try to force us all to switch by making the 2013 contract obligatory to sell new TLDs. But for a lot of registrars, new TLDs aren't important. But the obligations in the new contract are going to be a pain in the neck. I mean, being blunt about it. I mean, technically, you have to build out a whole system to handle certain new obligations. So for a lot of us, we didn't sign immediately because our contracts hadn't expired. But as the contracts come up for renewal, we cannot renew the 2009 contract. So eventually, over time, everybody ends up on the 2013. But in the GTLD space, generally speaking, contracts have a lifetime. You can't unilaterally revoke the contract. CCTLDs have a habit of doing that. We love CCTLs. Sorry. Kind of. Okay.
So it's an important point, if the registrar has not signed the new contract, they can't sell these new TLDs.
Not directly.
So a lot of registrars who sell .com, .net, they're happy with the old contract. They'll stay on that as long as they can.
But immediately it expires, they have to renew, go to the new one.
Yes.
Otherwise they won't do any operations with iCloud.
Exactly. So let's say for us as a company, our contract with our 2009 contract was expiring in, I think it was July 2014, and we had got into a
Negotiation,
no, I would say dispute.
conversation.
Dispute. We were having a very heavy dispute with ICANN's legal department about the data privacy and the data retention requirements in the new contract. Ireland is a member of the European Union, as most of you probably know. The European Union has a data privacy directive, which is implemented in all 28 member states. So for any registrar or any company operating in the European Union, we have to comply with Irish law. The 2013 contract has several clauses in there that are very problematic around data collection and data retention. Essentially obliging you to hold on to registrant contact details and other information for a very, very long time. So a lot of us were like, no, we're not doing this. So ICANN said, no, you have to do this. And we're like, no. And this went backwards and forwards. And lots of lawyers were involved. It was fun in a kind of, oh my God, that cost me a lot of money sort of fun. So we didn't sign until July of last year. So we didn't offer any new TLDs until July of last year.
But you continued with the old.
And I know several registrars, well, a lot of registrars, a lot of the bigger ones, have multiple accreditations. Like Tom has 2, we have 1. GoDaddy probably has, like, say, 10. Enom has 250 or something. So some registrars have multiple accreditations. So what some of them did was they signed the 2013 contract with under one accreditation or one entity and started using that entity just for the new TLDs and then waited to move the other ones across.
Sorry,
Yes?
I hope this is not too personal, but how did the privacy issue resolve with ICANN?
What's up, personal? Well, I'm quite happy to talk about this.
So
Oh, I'm more than happy to talk about
please
that.
just complete. So how was it resolved?
With a lot of pain. The problem is, okay, I'm going to offend Tom. Maybe I won't, whatever. Americans don't really understand privacy, being blunt about it. Under American law, they don't have the same kind of concept of privacy we have in Europe. So the American lawyers were asking the European registrars to answer an impossible question. Because if you look at data privacy law in most countries, it says the idea is collect the minimum amount of information to provide a service and retain the information for the minimum amount of time for the service. Only collect what you need, and as soon as you have finished using it, get rid of it. I mean, for any of you who've done anything with privacy, you probably know this. So nowhere in the legislation is it going to say, if you are a registrar, you can collect this amount of data and hold it for, this amount of time. It doesn't say that. ICANN were not happy about this. They're like, oh, but you have to give us a specific period. And we're going, how? I mean, how can we give you a specific period? The legislation doesn't say it. So this went backwards and forwards. So eventually we said, okay, how about this? So we gave them a specific period. We said 1 year for some of the data, 6 months for other bits of data. They didn't like it, but eventually they accepted it. But it took a lot of backwards and forwards. As far as I know, At the moment, I think about 15 registrars have got waivers, and there's still quite a few still being processed. There should be some more decisions made within the next 2 weeks. There's a preliminary one put out 2 days ago for Core Hub, which is one of the European registrars that also acts as a kind of a association of registrars. But it's a problem because the data retention issues apply to both registrars and registries. So several of the European-based registries have had difficulty signing contracts. I think one example was .Amsterdam, where the city of Amsterdam is the one running the registry. And essentially they said, well, I'm sorry, we cannot sign this contract because you're asking us to break Dutch law. So there's been a lot of backwards and forwards. ICANN still has not done a very good job of resolving this. So blame Barry, it's all his fault.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Was this also an issue, the privacy issue, the data retention issue, was it an issue for registrars in Asia or Latin America? Or?
Some of the Latin American registrars, yes, but they haven't made as big a deal about it. Some countries in Latin America have based their privacy law on European law, so it's very similar. Asian registrars, I honestly don't know. There's some interesting implications because if you see what's happened, I mean, a lot of the stuff, there's more stuff coming out around privacy and everything else. I refer to the post-Snowden world. Of course, I say that and your bosses kind of go, no, we didn't retain anything because of Snowden. It's like, yeah, right. It's complicated because if you are providing a service to Europeans or to any other area where you have data privacy laws, then you have to be aware of these things. It's complicated. It's not easy.
So talk about U.S. registrars with European customers.
Yeah.
Do they worry about the privacy stuff?
They should. You should. I mean, you get away with it for a while, but eventually this could come back and bite you on the ass, to be blunt about it.
Yeah.
And it's a complicated one. I mean, the European Union is currently revising the data privacy legislation. So it's going to move from being what's called a directive to what's the word I'm looking for? It's a different type of legislation. Let's see, with the directive sits at the EU level. And each national government has to take the directive, pull it down to a national level and go, okay, I have to put this into French law, into German law, into Irish law, Italian law, etc. With the other legal device, it's straight through, straight in. It's I can't remember the word now, but it's not a directive. That's meant to be happening within the next 12 months. The problem with some of this stuff, of course, is that some of the more extreme privacy advocates are looking for very, very restrictive privacy laws. And the problem with some of that is it could impact, say, your ability to track movement across a website, for example. We already have quite a bit of problems in Europe with cookies. You all know what a cookie is? Yeah, so at an EU level, we have a cookie law. So that if you go to a website operated by a European company or our company operating in Europe, we have to give you a warning about the usage of cookies. And depending on how seriously you take the legislation, you're meant to offer the option to not use any cookies, etc., etc., etc. A lot of companies were not too happy about that. Personally, I don't care. I mean, it's fine. Cookies. I like cookies. Chocolate cookies. Yeah, but the privacy stuff it's interesting. So, going back to this, so you've got the registrar accreditation agreement. So you've got registry service providers who, of course, are dealing with the registrars. So this it gets a bit complicated. So as a registrar, you're here. You have a contract with ICANN. You're dealing with ICANN. You also have a contract with the registry operator. but you're physically connecting through to the registry service provider.
Also sometimes there's conflicts.
Only in one case. There was one registry service provider who decided that it was a good idea to have a contract. And then, as a registrar, you might have resellers. So, you know, in a lot of countries, in Ireland, for example, up until relatively recently, you know, 99% of domains in Ireland were through third parties. The same in a lot of countries. And then you have registrants. Okay? Any questions on this? Happy? Yes? So here, I love this. The ICANN staff for this question, but the ICANN slides.
No, I think there's something that might be important to say. So the registries and registrars, they have contracts with ICANN with, you know, clear terms and conditions. Now, resellers do not have any relationship with ICANN, but, and you two need to correct me here, I know that there are some guidelines about, you know, how to protect registrants' rights and all this. That should be included in the contract between registrars and resellers. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's two things. All responsibilities for the registrar have to be passed to the reseller, essentially. So you cannot say, this domain name was sold via a reseller, so me as the registrar, I am not responsible. I can't do that. The other thing is that I'm not sure how they're handling this, because this seems to be kind of like, as a registrar, you are meant to tell ICANN about all your resellers. You're meant to. I mean, I'm not sure how you're meant to do that.
Well, we do it during the audit, which happens every 3 years. But you provide the contract and the list of resellers.
So all the resellers should have a contract with the registrar. But there's some areas around this where it gets a little bit messy. Then you've got in some models where you have a master reseller, and then the master reseller can create sub-resellers, who in turn can create sub-resellers. So this isn't just one thing, it can actually be an entire tree. So when the registrar gets audited, it can be quite entertaining. Because you have to provide, because one of the things that ICANN will always ask for is the registrant agreement. So every domain name that is registered has to be governed by a registrant agreement. But how do you prove that? How do you prove that every registrant entered into the agreement?
Just, you know, the agree button on the website.
You would think so. Do you have any idea how long it took me to convince ICANN compliance that that checkbox was obligatory? We had to send them screenshots of the entire order process showing that you couldn't progress beyond the checkbox. So, and we're a direct registrar. For somebody who runs a lot of resellers, it gets more complicated. And obviously, what will happen is that ICANN will send a list of like 20 domains or something in the audit. So it could be 20 domains chosen arbitrarily. Like we were audited, and I think 2 of the 20 domains were registered to me personally. I mean, I don't know how many thousand domains we have, but you know, the likelihood that they would choose 2 that were registered to me personally is kind of weird. So there is in the contract as well, as the registrar, you have to publish the registrant's rights and responsibilities. So it's a 2-part thing. You know, as a registrant, you have rights, but you also have responsibilities. And part of the responsibilities is you have to, you know, respond to your registrar. Yes, a question. Come on, I love this. Questions are great.
Let's take Ireland as an example.
Always a good thing to do.
Yes. Which of these entities are governmental? Or,
No.
None.
No.
Even the .gov.
Oh, God,
No, none of them are governmental.
All are private sector.
Okay, in the ICANN space, we're talking GTLDs, okay? So a CCTLD is not governed by ICANN.
Okay.
So the .ie CCTLD is, how do I put this diplomatically, because I'm being recorded? The delegation is to the university in in Dublin, so none of this applies anyway. It's to the University of Dublin, which of course is a semi-state body, but it's run by a private company, and the government has something in our communications bill which mentions to that, but that's just the CCTLD, it's non-governmental. In the GTLD space, I don't know, are any registrars that are governmental? Any of them run by governments? Registrars? No, registrars.
Only one vertically integrated.
Yeah.
No.
Like this, not really, no. I mean, registries in the GTLD space, there's several that are now some way connected to government. So like the City of London, for example, for .London, or the City of Paris for .Paris, or a lot of those kind of ones. But generally speaking, this is all private sector. Yeah? Yeah. Yes?
In the case of larger registry operators, the service provider is part of the operator itself.
Yeah, in many cases. So you take, say, VeriSign. Registry operator, registry service provider, same entity. Affiliates, same. Newstar. So Newstar runs .biz and what is GTLD?
.us.
No, GTLD.
Oh, well, they run, they're the registry operator for .biz, then they have a little back end for .travel.
The back end for a lot of other ones. It's just trying to think of where it's registry and registry service provider. So Affiliates has, say, .info, .mobi, .red, oh yeah, .co. .co's not a G, but never mind. But some of the bigger ones, a lot of the bigger ones, it's the same. With a lot of the smaller ones, there might be a split.
And many service providers cooperate with several other operators.
You mean this?
This can be connected to several operators.
Yes, yes. So for example, like we're using Newstar. Newstar.
So I can show you Calzone and give you an idea of how many some of these guys are running. We'll show you in a little while. Some of these, like Newstar runs 300 registry operators. They have 300 of them, right? Some of them only run one.
And GTLDs.
Yes.
300 GTLDs, plus 2 CCTLDs, plus gateways to 2 more CCTLDs.
It gets kind of complicated in parts, but then there's the registry service providers also what we're seeing a lot of now, and I think you can talk to this as well. The registry service providers, a lot of them have a lot of technical infrastructure. So they have DNS servers, Anycast, all this stuff, you know, lots and lots of servers.
Investments.
Heavy investment. So what they've been doing is they've been trying to diversify. So now a lot of them are offering value-add services where they're able to reuse the infrastructure for other things. So who's doing that? Affiliates, ARI, VeriSign, Newstar all offer DNS services, which is using the infrastructure they have, but it's separate to this. So you don't have to be in this. It's just it's there. Or if you're a CCTLD operator, you go to a centre meeting or a LAC-TLD meeting or one of the African ones I can't remember the name of, so I've never been. Those guys turn up and they're trying to sell you secondary DNS services because they've got the infrastructure and it's underutilized.
So pretty much all the major registry service providers who run GTLDs are also doing CCTLDs now, right? So you can find people that do both CC and G.
So like Newstar runs back end for, well, they run .us and .co. Nominet started as CCTLD, but now have a half dozen GTLDs. So they're doing .wales and .cymru, plus they're the back end for .bentley and .bbc and a few other .brand ones. The Austrian guys are doing lots of this stuff. I mean, there's a lot of, hey, we've got all this money, what do we do? Can we make more money?
Excuse me.
Yes?
In very simple English, explain Anycast.
Okay.
Very simple.
No, I'm just trying, okay, just to start with the basics. Do you know what an IP address is?
Sure.
Okay. So, IP addresses, essentially there are two types. You have a public IP address and you have a private IP. So a private IP you use on a private network, so you use NAT, so that you can have, every device connected to the Wi-Fi here is going to have a private IP. You cannot connect to my device from the outside world. When you have a public IP, you can. So this build, the Wi-Fi connection here has an IP address. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it has an IP address. That IP address is associated with this organization, and internally within the organization, they've assigned the IP address to this building. So that's what's called unicast. It exists in one place. Anycast IPs are different. With the Anycast IPs, you're able to use the same IP address in multiple locations. So, for example, when we were talking yesterday about the root zone and the root servers, there's 13 root servers, so it's 13 IP addresses, but there's more than 13 locations, because using the magic of Anycast, you're able to make a single IP appear in, 4, 10, 20 locations around the world. So that what happens then technically is, DNS is very forgiving in some respects, but what it will try to do is go to the nearest point. So your computer here will try to connect to a computer close to it on the network. So by putting these servers in different locations, you're making the IP address closer in some respects. You're also making it geographically diverse. You're making it more stable and secure. That help? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes.
Confused you more? No.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes?
Is there any online database that tell us which registry provider is running what?
Tom has a website that does just that.
It's a product.
Excuse me?
It's not moderated by ICANN or something like that.
Well, no, it's Tom's private project. Tom, do you want to do Calzone now? But sure, I think you'd be asked to say questions. Might as well.
So I think you want to know what's happening, what new TLDs are coming out. So that it comes from a variety of different sources. And so I thought it'd be a great idea if there was a way to just look on your smartphone and have a reminder of, oh, here's a new TLD coming out. So if you're a trademark lawyer, you know you can protect it. It's time to tell your clients about it.
He's also interested in who's doing which backend.
Yes, okay. So we'll bring that up and I'll show you what we built. I call it Calzone. I mentioned this yesterday. Whoops.
Loading all your email. Luckily, he doesn't have any interesting email. It's like, you're divorced. Sorry, Tom.
So what I'm trying to do with Calzone is to basically publish all the new TLDs that are launching on the internet, right? And I'm only publishing some major milestones. So for example, the first milestone I want to know is when they sign a contract with ICANN, right? That tells me they're up to that point, there might be not go through with the business. There might be objections from the GAC. We talked about that yesterday. They might have to go to an auction and beat out someone else who wants the same name. And so we keep track of when they sign a contract with ICANN. That's the first milestone. The second milestone is when they get delegated into the root zone. All right, and so again, between signing a contract, they have, I think, 18 months to actually turn on that TLD. So, and that is also sometimes a negotiation process with ICANN, because they might want to change the standard contract that ICANN has. When they finally get delegated, we talked about the delegation process yesterday. That means you can go to your browser and find this new TLD. And the first TLD is always going to be NIC, right? And so when they're delegated and they're published to the IANA database, as soon as that is announced, we announce it on our system. So let's say a new one coming out is going to be .love. We know that's going to be the first website for .love, right? And that's typically the registry's website, is nic.love. The next step for the registry is to announce a startup plan. And this is mandatory for every registry. And in the startup plan, they have to describe a number of things. The first thing is every new TLD has to have a sunrise period. And a sunrise period is a priority phase just for trademark owners who have submitted their trademark to the Trademark Clearinghouse. So the Trademark Clearinghouse is this brand new institution that's been created just for the new TLD program. And if you have a trademark registered in a national trademark office, so the government of Egypt or US or even a regional trademark office like the European Union, and you're actually using that trademark, you get to submit that to the Trademark Clearinghouse. You provide them some marketing specimens saying, here's how I'm using it, here's marketing flyers or something. That allows you to be in the Trademark Clearinghouse. And the Trademark Clearinghouse gives you two rights as a trademark owner. One is you get to register in these sunrise periods before anyone else. If you decide not to register, then you basically get a watching service that will let you know if someone else registered your name.
But only your name.
Right, only your exact name. And so the startup, so we have, for example, a startup plan of some recent TLDs. So .sky just announced their startup plan right here. So this was just a few days ago. And .sky, we can tell you a few things about .sky. First of all, it's a brand TLD. So it's actually a trademark. Someone has a trademark on Sky. And so they plan to launch this just for their employees, basically, and their partners and their customers. So it's called a brand TLD. They get exempted from all kinds of rules. For example, they don't have to use a registrar, right? They can pick their own registrar, or they can be their own registrar. They have different data retention requirements, different verification requirements, so they're a special class.
So basically with the .brand TLD, there is only one registrant.
Right, so they're considered, even if they have 1 million names under management, they all say they're the registrant for that name.
Because if you take, say, for example, let's say, okay, take .sky. Sky is Sky Broadcasting. They're a big TV provider in Europe. So all domains under .sky will all be registered to Sky.
Right. So
No third parties. Third parties might be using the domain, but they're all back to the one entity.
right. So I mentioned this earlier. I'm actually Dog Realtor. It came out a few months ago. They're considered a dog brand. They're owned by the National Association of Realtors, which is an association in the U.S. just for real estate brokers. And so they actually went to ICANN and said, we're going to be the only registrant for this TLD. Even though we're giving it out to our members, when you go to the Who Is, they'll say the registry owns this domain name. And because they say that, they also said we only want to work with one registrar. And so they picked my business to be their exclusive registrar for all their members. And so that's an example of the .brands. So what we have here is, we tell you a few things about this brand. So we know that it's an ASCII script, meaning it's alphanumeric. There's also some IDN scripts, so I can show you those TLDs. So it could be Arabic or Cyrillic or Chinese. We know who the applicant name is, so that's the trademark owner. The backend provider, in this case, is Verisign. We have a link to their sunrise policies, which describes how the trademark owners are eligible for their particular sunrise period. Their sunrise type in this case is .brand, which means they actually don't have to let other trademark owners register in their TLD. So they don't have a real sunrise, they don't have a real limited registration period, and they have this claims period where they is a watching service for trademark owners. So if they register any names of their TLD, say Rolex, right? Rolex, who's in the trademark clearinghouse, will get an email saying, .sky is registered Rolex.sky. You know, do you want to file a dispute or send a letter or what have you? So that's a .brand. Let me show you a more interesting TLD. So here's .bank. I've been talking a lot about. So .bank is also being run by VeriSign, but it is a full-blown TLD. And so they have a sunrise period. We call it the start date sunrise period. And what that means is they're going to, when trademark owners apply during sunrise, it's going to be first come, first served. Because, so there are multiple banks with the same trademark. Whoever applies for it first will get the name. So let's say we have United Bank, very common name. They both have trademarks. They both apply to the trademark clearinghouse. Only one of those trademark owners will get it during sunrise, whoever applies first. We don't show it here, but they do actually. They have what we call a limited phase. So they're having just a few days for a founders period. So they have the founders of the registry, there are 22 of them. They will get to apply during this limited phase. Now, in both of these cases, you still have to be a bank in order to apply, so they have extra requirements. And finally, when they start claims in June, that's when it's open to all banks. You don't have to be the trademark clearinghouse, you don't have to be a founder, but as long as you're a bank, you can start applying in June.
Do you have any way to see all the TLDs associated with VeriSign as a backend provider?
Yeah. So we got a variety of ways we can, so the other phases here real quick, you can see up there, we have general availability, which is when it's open to everybody. We also have founders programs, we have auctions, and so I can do a variety of things. So if I want to see all the TLDs run by VeriSign, I can just filter, and again, we're just looking at startup plans here. Here are all the startup plans for that VeriSign is doing. All right, and I can even back up and say, show me all the contracts.
But
The
is it
people
only
inside.
for the new GTLD?
I'm sorry?
Is it only for the new GTLD database?
Yes. Yes, so we are, in fact, we have approached CCTLDs, and I'll explain in a second how CCTLDs can be in this calendar as well. That'll give you an idea of where we see Calzone in the future. But here are all the contracts. So for example, I can tell you which registries have signed a contract with Newstar. Newstar had about 300 different registry operators that are signing with that. So the 75 that Amazon applied for all use Newstar on the back end. So these are all the contracts for Newstar. And these are just going back a few months, so I can go back to last year as well. Famous for Media has, 65 TLDs. We see some .brands in here. We see some a variety of different categories. So what I also can do in here, for example, is we've taken all the TLDs that have been applied for and put them into different categories. So I can show you all the categories that are related to, let's say, real estate. And these are just a few in May, but I can go back a few months. And here are all the real estate related TLDs. There's quite a few. In fact, if you look at the full list up here, there's about 20, 25 TLDs just in the real estate category. If I look at the travel category, go back a ways. Again, we have about 20 TLDs in the travel category. I also can tell you by language script what TLDs have come out. So Arabic, for example, there's been several Arabic TLDs that have come out into into the marketplace. And so our tool basically allows you to subscribe to this and say, whenever there's a new Arabic TLD, send me an alert to my smartphone or synchronize it with my calendar. So I know when all the Arabic TLDs are coming out. So we have about over 6,000 subscribers right now to Calzone, mainly trademark lawyers. We also have a lot of registrars who subscribe to this as well. So they keep track of what new TLDs are coming out and decide which ones they want to support. What we see going forward, just to give you a plug for the platform, is going forward, even after TLD is launched, one of the problems they have is the distribution channel, meaning registrars, are always looking for the next new thing, right? So we're thinking about what new TLDs are coming out next month.
Do you require any documents for the Arabic TLDs?
I'm sorry?
Any documents for the Arabic TLDs is required?
What do you mean?
Like Shabaka or any Arabic domain name?
Right.
Do you require the document like the trademark or any document?
So every TLD, when they launch, is required to have a sunrise period. All of them. So even .shabaka had to go through a sunrise period. If you're familiar with them, they were so eager to get out into the marketplace, they announced their startup plans before they had any registrars. So they went into sunrise period, but no one was able to sell their TLD. In fact, they didn't have a contract even signed yet, and they had already announced the sunrise period. So I think they've got, and the other problem obviously with Shabaka, they came out so early. I think there were 35 Arabic trademarks in the trademark clearinghouse total, and maybe half of those eventually applied. But they just came out too early, and the registrars weren't ready for them, the trademark owners weren't ready for them, and I think that hurt their launch. There's been quite a few more Arabic TLDs that have come out since that I think have done very well. And we're gonna show you in a minute some websites where you can actually monitor the statistics of all these TLDs. So you can see how many registrations they did during sunrise, how many they have during general availability, and look at it every day. And you get a sense of not only what their volume of registrations are, but what registrars are actually doing business for them.
And to also answer your thing about documentation, so each registry has its own policies. So they can decide, be completely open, let anybody register a domain name, or they can restrict it. So, for example, .bank is restricted. You have to be a bank, you have to be a financial institution. .shabaka, as far as I know, is completely open.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's completely open. So, if you want to register a .shabaka domain, you can. Not through me, though, because we don't sell them. Tom would be happy to help you spend your money. I will quite happily take your money from Auxility, at least.
Right.
The thing with restrictions around TLDs, it's something around the positioning and the marketing in some cases. In other cases, it's political. So some of the TLDs, because they are being run by semi-governmental organizations, they want to protect the brand. So .nyc, which is for the city of New York, is very restricted. You have to have an address within New York City to register a .nyc domain. Whereas, say, in London, they don't really have that restriction. I think officially you have to be some way connected to London, but it's like, whatever. I go to London once every 2 years, I'm connected. It's not the same kind of strict requirement.
So if you're interested in going to Calzone and say you can subscribe to anything here, you subscribe by, I want to see all events, I only care about events for trademark owners, and so you have the option of just receiving an email every day, RSS feed, calendar feed, whatever you'd like. So what we're saying to the TLDs that have already launched, saying, you've already been out in the marketplace, Shabaka is a good example, everyone's forgotten about you, right? We've moved on to the next new thing. So we're telling them they can use Calzone to promote their new marketing plan. And so if you want to talk about a 2015 marketing plan and not only distribute that to the end users, but also distribute it to your distribution channel, you can use Calzone as a platform for promoting your TLD, basically. Okay. So feel free to take it out, take it for a test drive, and tell us what you think. And say there's no charge for it today, it's just a labor of love. So back to you.
Okay. So, I think we've kind of beaten this thing to death a bit, haven't we? Beaten to death? It's dead? Yeah, okay. Right. Let's see if I can work out how to operate this thing. Windows and I are not friends.
Which the lower left here.
Okay. Where am I going?
Bring it up.
What I was doing was, why is that not working? What is it with, sorry, I don't use Windows, so me operating a Windows laptop is a disaster. Okay, thanks. So again, this is just following on a little bit from what we're looking at, the ecosystem, all the interconnected bits. So the way they have this done out, this is yet another one of these ICANN PDFs. So just wait now because Bahar will start asking us questions.
He's up next.
He's up, oh, is he? Oh, excellent. So we can ask him lots of questions. So the way that they've done this here in terms of layers. So coordination layer, you've got ICANN, wholesale layer, registry operators and service providers, distribution layer, registrars, resale layer, resellers, that's a bit obvious. And then consumers are registrants and users. So that's just the different layers throughout how the system kind of works. And also the coordination layer, you could also say, you're getting input from IETF and all that. Don't break the internet. This is a bad idea technically. That's all going to feed in there when it comes down. Any questions? No? Are we taking a break or are we going to him?
I thought we were talking about the registry agreement, the registrar agreement. You want to handle that? You want me to do it?
Yeah.
You'll do it.
No, I can't do it.
Why not?
I can't go to agreements.
We can do it.
Oh, sorry. You're a stakeholder, not an agreement person. He engages with stakes.
So these are slides from ICANN that we want to go through to just talk about the obligations of registries and the obligations of registrars. And then we'll take a break. So you've heard a lot about this group called compliance at ICANN. So those are the people that make sure that the contracted parties are actually following all the rules. They can be proactive or reactive. They're proactive. Typically, they for example, we've both been through audits. They went through a 3-year audit cycle where they picked a third of all their contracted parties, so a third of registrars, a third of registries were audited. They gave us some domain names, and we had to produce basically a full audit trail of all the communications we had related to that domain names. We had to demonstrate that we followed all the different policies that were required to do. So that's being proactive. They're also very reactive. So if someone complains saying, hey, I tried to transfer a name from Black Knight to Encirca, they wouldn't let me do it. They can file a complaint, and then we have to produce paperwork saying, showing we follow procedures. Or if someone complains saying, I told them their who-is record for that person was false, and they refused to change it. It's bad data. they can file a complaint, and then ICANN will come back to us saying, prove to us that you contacted your customer and asked them to update their information.
There's an entire section on the ICANN website with compliance, so for different types of issues you can have, where to complain. Key thing, do not complain to ICANN about CCTLDs. ICANN does not control CCTLDs, so don't go to them with CCTLD problems.
So they do get a lot of complaints. My website doesn't work.
Yeah.
I called my registrar and they said, not our problem, please tell them to fix it for me. And, you know, they're good at, in most cases, they realize it's not our problem, they don't bother us. But sometimes they do anyway. So,
Yes, sorry,
go ahead.
the young lady.
From what I've just understood from what you said is that ICANN does an audit every 3 years.
So they did a 3-year audit cycle. It's not clear if that's going to be ongoing, but they have done an audit.
They have the right to audit registrars and registries.
Every 3 years.
No, they have the right to audit.
And anytime they want.
Anytime they want.
Yeah,
But
but
they've
3
done
year
it.
circle.
They did a 3-year cycle for registrars and registries, but they might do it differently in the future.
Okay, because what I was just going towards the European privacy law, where you said you agreed to retain 1 year data.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just wondering how you're going to synchronize, if I comes to audit you, how you're going to now have to produce records 3 years.
You don't.
You don't.
You know, in fact, so I have a requirement to keep the data for a certain amount of time. Well, I think it might be 3 years for me.
That's true. Excuse me, whilst I go.
But when if they transfer out, then I only have to keep it for another year after that. And so oftentimes as part of the audit, they'll tell me about this name, and I look at it and say, it transferred out 5 years ago, I don't have anything for you. Everything's been deleted, I'm off the hook.
Yeah.
So they do try to focus, I think as part of their sampling of data, to get names that they know are still with the registrar, and there's been so there's this real data that we can attach to it.
Sometimes just to check whether you still retain data you shouldn't have in the first place.
I'm not going to tell them that,
Yeah,
right?
well, ICANN don't really have, well, ICANN currently does not have a privacy officer. So they're not going to do an audit to check that we are gathering too much information.
Right, they can't force me to delete data. Right?
Now, my DPA can.
Right.
I have a DPA, you don't.
I have no idea what DPA stands for, it's another acronym.
Data privacy auditor?
Authority?
Authority.
Yeah, so we don't have someone who tells us we have to delete data.
And this is why American banks are so secure.
This is true.
Sorry, before we leave this topic, in the RAE, this ICANN audit right, is it in the terms of the RAE?
Yes.
So they have that right?
They have the right to audit. The way it's worded, I mean, essentially what in both the registry contract and the registrar contract, ICANN has a right to audit. Right, and there's like a full stop immediately afterwards. So if they wanted to, now obviously it would be impractical for them to do this, they could audit in circa every 3 months. And the thing is, I think after about 2 audits, he would lose his mind and probably drive to their offices in LA and kill everybody in the legal department. But you know, they have the right to do it.
So what happens in practice is that everyone's gone through this annual audit, which is very structured, and then they're reacting. People complain about, hey, they won't update this bogus who is data. And what they do is, if you don't respond to their request to update the who is record, they start to basically on the spot do an audit of your registrar. They say, where else are they not in compliance?
And so if you look at if you go to icann.org /compliance/notices, which the fact that I have memorized that address is a bad thing.
There's something called bookmarks, but go on.
Bookmarks? I don't use bookmarks. Bookmarks are so 1995. The compliance notices page on the ICANN website includes all the details of all the public actions that ICANN has taken against both registrars and registries. So generally what ICANN does is, it's an escalation thing. So let's say you find a problem with Black Knight's Whois server. It's not working for whatever reason. So you report this to ICANN. ICANN will check and see, is Black Knight's Whois server working? If it's working, then they're not going to contact us. Like, okay, don't ignore. If it's not working, they'll contact us and go, hey, your Whois server isn't working. You know, what's going on? If we fix it and tell them, hey, it's fixed now, end the conversation. If we don't respond, then eventually they will send a letter like this one. So this one is involving Shanghai OWeb, who I've never heard of. So these guys are being done for lack of payment of fees. Now, if they're being done for lack of payment of fees, that's probably not why they're being done. Okay? This is how you take down the mafia, is you go after the money. Normally, if they're going after the money, if there's a thing about money, it's probably because they've had other complaints about the registrar.
So here's an example where because they were late paying their invoice, ICANN did a quick audit, and it found a few other problem areas on their website, up to 9 different problem areas.
No, that's pretty impressive. 9 is pretty impressive. That's like, oh boy,
Yes.
these guys have not done like anything right.
So ICANN comes back, so here's 10 things you need to do to mitigate these problems and be back in compliance, and by the way, pay your bill. But they're also nice enough to detail all the communications they had with you that led up to this point.
And so you look at that there. That one starts 6th of October 2014. So ICANN, 6th of October, they tried to contact them and they didn't get any response. And then it goes on from there, right through to here. And you know, this is the thing. To date, no response received from registrar, and the issue remains unresolved.
There's been 0 response. They tried email, fax, phone call, and completely unable to contact this registrar.
So this means basically this registrar, they might fix their problems, but it's unlikely. It's unlikely. Do you want to take bets on this one? I think actually we're both betting the same way.
Well, what's weird about this is, so it looks like the registrar has let their contact information with ICANN go stale, right? Either that or they went out of business. Because there's been 0 contact. There are, in many cases, we'll bring up an example where registrars actually responded.
I think that's usually one.
So here's people who respond. Just go back to,
Okay, I was going to go with fusion votes, okay.
well, just because we know this is,
Yeah. No, I
is a cure period.
It's a way to know if there are registrants who have registered any activities with this registrar.
You can pull up the statistics by the registrar.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
So the ICANN, okay, all the registry operators report to ICANN transactions. Now, the transactions serve 2 purposes. One is for statistical, and the other is for billing. Because ICANN has to bill us as registrars for every transaction we do. So that data is available. It's usually 3 months behind. So that's available. Then there's other sources, like some of the statistics sites we can show you, which they publish data about the TLDs and the registrars and everything else. So you can see, using these, you can say, right, you know, that registrar only has a couple of 100 names, or that registrar is really, really big.
Okay, in the case of this registrar who doesn't respond, what's the case with its registrants?
Okay,
So I can talk about this. We've done this a few times.
Okay, you do it.
So after they publish this brief, you say you have, here are all the things you need to fix by this date. If you don't do it, we're going to terminate you.
He's not responding.
Right.
Yeah.
And so here's some termination notices, up 3. So here, just last week, they terminated a business here who didn't respond. They're going to shut it down. And so what they do after this is they send out an email to all the good registrars saying, who wants to take over their business?
It's not evil.
Right? So, you know, whoever wants to take over their business, you can have it.
With the registrar.
With all their customers, right? And so I'll give you, we've done this a few times. There was a registrar that was being shut down based in the Philippines. We got contacted by ICANN saying they have 500 domain names. Half of them look like they're in the USA, so good fit for your registrar. You know, would you like to take this over? Oftentimes they might even ask, how much are you willing to pay? You say 0. How much will you pay the losing registrar? We say 0, right? And so we took this over, and then we got all the customer data, and we have to coordinate with VeriSign and affiliates, wherever the registries are on the back end. And we typically would load up the WHOIS data into our system. We'd send out an email to all these new customers saying, welcome to Encirca, we're now your new registrar, and you can keep operating as your own.
I have the customers an option to choose which registrar they want.
Not eventually, no.
Not necessarily. They have to come in first and stay there for, you know, at least 60 days.
And we can seek for a transfer, then you have to pay for that.
No, not when their registrar is shut down.
I know, but
There's
you
no
have to
charge.
be 60 days.
If they want to transfer to another registrar, they
Yeah,
have to pay.
Yeah, they have to pay now.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
But don't, the thing is, we mentioned this yesterday, when you're paying for a transfer between registrars, you're also renewing your domain. You're not being penalized. You're not losing.
What about the expiry date of the domain name? Does it
It's
Okay.
pushed forward by 1 year. When you do an inter-registrar transfer, a normal registrar, no, it's just, it adds a year.
A renewal.
Yeah.
It's just like a renewal. So if we're right now in March, let's say you have a domain name that expires on July 1st, all right? You can decide to transfer that out today, and the new renewal date for that will go from July 1st, 2015 to July 1st, 2016. So you can renew early, you don't lose any time.
There's no negative to this. Now, for the bulk transfer, when a registrar fails, 1 second, and the domains are transferred, say, from us to them, so if we go out of business, he takes over, that doesn't change anything.
Yeah,
There's
nothing
no cost.
changes.
There's no cost, no change to dates. Sorry, go ahead.
Could you just repeat what you said?
Yeah, so you can renew at any time, and it doesn't change your expiration, your expiration date simply gets added to.
Okay.
So you can renew, you can have a domain name that doesn't expire for 3 years, and I can decide I want to add 2 more years to it.
Or you want to transfer it?
If you want to transfer it, it just adds more time to the current date. So you don't have to wait until expiration to transfer it. It can say, I still have 3 years left, I'm going to transfer it now, and I get to keep those 3 years, plus add another year.
Because don't forget, in the GTLD space, the domain registration period is between 1 year and 10 years. Whereas I know in some CCTLDs, it's like, it depends, you know, it varies a lot. But in the GTLD space, they're all 1 to 10 years.
So you don't, so by transferring, you don't get penalized at all.
No.
Whatever time you really have left is simply added to.
You don't lose anything.
You don't lose anything. So I'll just to finish the story with this new registrar I took over. I was all excited about all these new customers that I was getting for free. We started looking at all these U.S. customers, and they had all these strange-looking email addresses from Hotmail and AOL. They had numbers and letters and the email address. And so I went to a service provider in the U.S. Called LegitScript. I know you know these guys. I said, you know, take a look at these names for me, because they look like they're, you know, sketchy pharmaceutical websites. I don't really trust these names. And they came back and said, all 500 or 600 of these names are on our fraud list. This is why they shut down the registrar. You don't have any customers there, they're all fraudulent. So instead of activating these names, I sent out an obligatory note to the new customer saying, welcome to Encirca, click on this email if you exist. No one clicked on the emails. I shut down all the domain names and deleted them a month later. They're gone. So these are all fraudulent websites. This is why I actually wanted to shut down the registrar and delete these names off the internet.
Okay, for all your efforts, did ICANN pay you? Because they just gave you additional responsibility. No income. Or
Right,
at least.
there was a risk. I took a risk that I would get customers and I got nothing. out of it. So I tried to make something of it, and I got some stories in the press about what a good guy I am, shutting down his website.
For us, for example, we had the rather amusing experience of taking over all domains of our largest competitor in the Irish market because they misbehaved and were shut down. So we had a bit of fun with publicity around that one. We got a few customers.
Where it gets really messy is if the registrar that's being shut down has not done a good job of, say, doing data escrow,
Which is what happened with us.
now you have to reconstruct. You have to go to customers and say, well, we're not even sure you're the customer. We don't have any record of you being the customer. Can you prove you're XYZ located in Dublin? We need legal documents now, right? It gets to be a real headache if the registrar goes through the data escrow.
I mean, we had the situation with the registrar we took over, where about 50% of the names had data, the other 50% nothing, or close to nothing. So some were, valid, great new business. In some cases, they were actually existing customers for other things. But a lot of them was just a headache. People contact us going, hey, you're the registrar for this domain. We're like, who are you? Oh, I'm the registrant. Prove it? Because we had nothing. The data was just terrible. And then there was the mystery of the missing domains.
We've had some of those too. But ICANN's getting a lot better with this data escrow service. So most registrars today should be automatically sending their data to a data escrow once a week or once a day. So if they get shut down, there's a real easy way to migrate their customers to another registrar. Registries have to do the same thing. Data escrow, etc. Yeah.
Okay, actually my company is working with INA. It's not the Day2 Industry, we are working with INA. And there is something called a redemption period.
Yep.
Yes.
Time between the domain, you can pay extra fee because for delay in the renewal, and the domain can be free. If a business shut down and the customer entered this redemption period, the customer have to pay this redemption fees, or it's not the customer responsibility?
If the redemption fee, you only pay the redemption fee if you want to renew the domain.
Yeah, okay, but it's not the customer responsibility. I mean, the registrar shut down and they transferred the customer from a place to another place, and he was not notified that the domain is expired. So is it still a customer problem?
Oh, that's a bit more complicated. That's something you need to argue about with your registrar.
Yeah, it is typically the customer's problem. And if it's already in the redemption grace period, only the customer can redeem it for an extra fee. The risk is if they say we don't want to pay the extra money, we'll wait until it gets dropped. Anyone else could pick it up.
We get customers who, they will tell us, both in writing and on the phone, yes, we did get your email. Yes, we got your other email, and the other email, and the other email.
We had an interesting problem with this registrar we took over. Some of the names in the who is showed an expiration date of 5 years ago. And so what the back-end registry provider tried to do is charge us back 5 years for taking over these names for ICANN. I kid you not.
That's a bit crazy.
So this was affiliates saying, well, gee, we haven't been paid for 5 years. We're going to charge you in circa these 5 years. I said, no, we're deleting the name. Right? You're not going to renew them first, so we can delete them. Delete them now.
So the thing with the renewals, I mean, we get a lot of people and they just go, I got your emails, but I didn't want to read them. And so we're like, sorry, what? Oh, no, it's your problem. And we're like, hold on a second, hold on. So we sent you the emails telling you the domain was expiring, or the hosting, or the other service. We sent you reminder emails, and you were saying that you got the emails. And they go, yes. But you didn't pay the bill. No. And now it's our fault. Yes.